Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Zach Reardon Unfiltered. Today, I'm going to tell you all a story that you probably have never heard before. And if you have heard it, you might have heard it wrong. And it's a story of a U.S. military ship being attacked in the Mediterranean Sea. And I'm going to read you the brief story before we get to our special guest. On June 8th, 1967, the USS Liberty, an American military ship, was suddenly attacked in the Mediterranean. For over 2 hours, waves of Israeli aircraft and torpedo boats struck the ship with rockets, napalm, and cannon fire. By the end, 34 American sailors were dead, and 171 more were wounded. The official story claimed it was all a tragic mistake, but many survivors insist there's far more to the truth. One of those men is Mr. Phil Turney, who lived through the attack and has spent decades fighting to make sure that this story isn't forgotten. Today, I have Mr. Phil here with me today. Phil, welcome to the show.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate it, Zach. And yeah, it was quite a day that day. And actually, post-attack has been just as rough to
I,
get the word out.
I can imagine, especially in the day we live in today. So let's just start from the very beginning. Let's start with you. You know, where did you grow up? Where were you raised? Where's your stomping grounds?
Yeah, Zach, I was born in Denver, Colorado, December the 18th, 1946. I was a war baby. My dad fought World War II. My uncle did too. He was captured by the Germans, and they both got out of there alive, luckily. But we have a long line of people in my sphere, my roots, my family that have served in the military. Uh, I've got 5 brothers and sisters, all deceased now except me. I had older sister and 2 brothers. They're both dead, of course, and 2 younger sisters, and they're both gone. So I'm the last of the Mohicans, and so to speak.
All
But
right.
I'm 79 years old, and I'm still fighting for the truth until the day I die. So that's kind of where I'm from. My education was minimal. I joined the Navy at 17, and did 2 tours Vietnam. Then I got transferred to USS Liberty, and that's where the real story begins about treachery, deception, and control.
Right. Tell us a little bit about your 2 tours in Vietnam.
Yeah, they were. I first got aboard USS Mauna Kea. Both my brothers served on the Mauna Kea. That's one of the reasons I got stationed there. It's just, you know, uh, but it wasn't fun. Uh, I wasn't directly in combat, thank God, like a lot of the people were. The Marines, the Navy, on the swift boats, the sailors uh, that worked on the swift boats and ran them. But I was very fortunate. I was aboard an ammo ship, but we did a lot of harrowing things on that ship, transferring ammo to aircraft carriers, and they're smaller aircraft. It was no fun. It was a rough job. We used to stay out to sea. Usually a tour would last 8, 9 months away from home. I did that twice. Then I got transferred aboard the Liberty.
And what was that process? How long did you know that you would be going aboard the Liberty, and what were you told about the ship and the mission whenever you went on the Liberty?
Well, Zach, I really wasn't told anything. I just got orders from the West Coast to the East Coast, and I'd never been there before anyway. I said, well, that's going to be cool. I saw pretty much all the West Coast and the Pacific. I went to a lot of different places, visited a lot of different places: Hong Kong, Guam, Hawaii, Japan, just a lot of places. So I wanted to see more area, join the Navy and see the world, and that's kind of what I was hoping to do. But yeah, the transfer was easy for me, and getting aboard the Liberty, I didn't know what it was. I had no idea. Uh, even when I got aboard the Liberty, they didn't tell me what kind of ship it was. I mean, there was antennas everywhere and everything like that. They told me we mapped the bottom of the ocean, and I thought that would be very strange when all the antennas are going straight up. How we've mapping the bottom of the ocean, but I was soon to find out it was the most one of the most sophisticated spy ships in the world at that time. Uh, so it was quite an experience.
Right. Right. So how long were you aboard the Liberty before June of 1967?
Well, I got aboard there in 1965. My first cruise was with D.D. Wyland. That was our captain. We always went to the west coast of Africa, up and down the coast of Africa, very slow. And then Captain McGonigal came aboard. He was the captain we had when our ship was attacked. But I was aboard Liberty approximately a little over 2 years, 2.5.
Okay. So you're going up and down the coast of Africa. Um, and what were your days like on the Liberty? How were they spent?
Well, we stood watches. We was on you know, 4 hour watches, 8 hours off, 4 to 8. And when you had time off, if you weren't working, you could go up on deck and sunbathe. That was a beautiful part of the world and nice, beautiful weather. And we'd go up there and relax, sunbathe, and do what you wanted to do. It was a very comfortable ship. Uh, not any problems. You know, there'd be a scuffle here every now and every now and then. But there was two different crews aboard the ship. There were the spies, the spooks we called them, and ship's company. And I was in ship's company and engineering. So the days were always nice, no problems.
So what was the interaction between you and your mates and the spies on the ship?
None. They wouldn't talk to us, and we wouldn't talk to them. We thought they were pretty arrogant, snotty, better than us, but they really weren't. For some reason, they kept us apart from the spies. And listen, these guys are not going to tell us anything. I mean, they swore an oath. They're not going to be spreading stuff to the rest of the crew. We're not supposed to know. But I guess they didn't even trust their own men with the people aboard the Liberty. But come to find out, oh, these spies were just like us. You know, they just had a job. And they had their job, we had our job. Our job was to take the CTs anywhere they wanted to go. You know, without us, they didn't have any hot water. They didn't get their clothes washed. They didn't have food, hot food. All that stuff came right from the heart of the ship in engineering. So we were the heart of the ship, and we were kind of looked down upon because we had dirty fingernails and stuff. We worked hard down the hole, greasy hole. I asked for a transfer out of the hole, and I did get it. And I went to the ship fitter shop, which was above deck, more appealing to me, hands-on doing welding and damage control, pipe fitting, and things like that.
Right. So you get on this ship, you're told that you're mapping the bottom of the ocean, and you thought it's strange because all the antennas are pointing up. There doesn't seem to be apparatuses on this ship to map the bottom of the ocean. And then you learn that there's these spies and y'all aren't really talking to each other or anything. What was the conversation like between you and your mates? What were you all thinking about the situation once you were out there?
Uh, Off the coast of Africa or off the
Yeah.
coast of
Off the coast of moving closer to June 8th, around, the end of May into June. What were you thinking about your situation at that point?
well, Zach, we took off for Africa again. I believe it was 1st of May, mid-May, something like that. And we got to our first port of entry, for a little rest and relaxation. Uh, and it was Abidjan, Africa. Nice port, nice people. We enjoyed going there. We spent 2 or 3 days there, drink a few beers and get some good food and stuff like that. They'd load supplies. So we got there. And we weren't there very long. We were there probably less than 2 or 3, 4 hours. And oh, broke loose aboard the ship. Get everybody back aboard the ship ASAP. We're leaving here now. We got to get underway. And this had never happened to me the whole time I was on the Liberty. Nothing like this ever happened. So we took off for parts unknown, but we ended up in Rota, Spain, and picked up 3 linguists, marine linguists, and 1 CIA, NSA type guy, Alan Blue. 2 of those Marines we picked up were blown to bits, and the NSA guys, he was blown to bits too, Alan Blue. There might have been a couple more we picked up, but I'm not sure. But we left, got our supplies, and left Rota for the Mediterranean. That's when we figured out, well, here we go. We're going into a war zone. And the captain McGonigal, he asked for a destroyer escort because all the ships were going the other way, Zach. We were the only one going into the war. And we were denied that help, not once, but twice. Commander Lewis, he was head of the spies. He also requested a destroyer escort, and he was turned down. They told us, hey, you don't need an escort. Your flag is your banner. That is what's going to protect you. We had GTR 5 on the front of our ship, the bow, in big, bold letters, 10 feet high. The 5 was, and I believe the GTR 5 were 5 feet high. American flag always flying. Liberty on the back with AGTR 5. And so we really had nothing to worry about, we thought. We get on station on the 7th of June. We start getting reconnaissance aircraft flying over us. They were Israelis, clearly marked with Star David, flying boxcar, DC-3, and other smaller aircraft. They got so low to the ship, it would rattle the deck plates. That's how close they were. They were prop planes. And we would wave. They'd wave at us. We felt very secure because we saw the Star David. I thought everything was great because they're here to help us. Of course, they're our allies. And we had the Star David inside the ship. All over the ship, there was the Star David because we wanted our allies to win. But what little did we know.
So you start sailing into the Mediterranean toward the war zone. And what was it? So when you left your port, you did not know that the 6-day war was going on. You didn't know it was happening. At what point did you learn about the 6-day war happening?
On our way to getting to the Med. We were picking up signals. We knew what was going on then, but before then, we didn't know anything. So,
well, let's go into detail about what happened that terrible day, June 8th. Just recount the whole day for us.
Sure. Well, we got up, every morning. If you didn't have a watch, you go to shower, a regular day, and go to your duty station, do your work, whatever was required. And we were still getting aircraft flying over us, recon aircraft taking pictures of us. Now, this is the second day of this, and we still felt pretty good about it because it was the Israelis. And this went on for several hours. We had a general quarters drill. It was a chemical drill. And I was in damage control forward as assistant on-scene leader. And I was outside on the hot deck. Had to be at least 100 degrees or more on the deck. It was a very hot, warm day. And by the way, it was a beautiful day. You could see for miles and miles and miles. We could see the bombs going off on the Sinai. So we were 12.5 miles off the coast. We secured from general quarters, and I was up on the forward gun mount starboard. The sound-powered phones weren't working, and so I got a friend of mine, David Skolak. He was an eye seaman to go up there and fix it. It was internal communications, sound. That's what they call them, sound-powered phones. So he got up there and he says, Turney, I got it. And there's another gentleman up there, gunner's mate, Thompson. And I said, well, guys, I better get out of here. You know, we're out of condition 3, which is a wartime footing, just in case. And I guess about 30 seconds after I left that gun mount, the attack started. All hell broke loose. Just as soon as I got into my workstation on the starboard side, midships, where the whale boat was, it exploded. And I thought they were testing it, and the engine blew up. I started to go out the hatch, and this chief grabbed me by the nape of the neck and says, man, we're under attack. So I run down in the skin of the ship, down through the mess decks, up to my repair party under the forecastle, right where the gun mounts were, port and starboard. And there was people outside that were hit with rockets, and cannons, machine guns. This went on and on for 25 minutes, and I gotta tell you now, they took out every antenna, every tuning antenna on that ship in the first 3 seconds. They took out all of our 40 caliber machine guns. I mean, it's like BB guns comparing to anything else. You couldn't fight anything with a 50 caliber, but they took them out, all 4 of them, on that first pass. And this continued on and continued on. And Terry Haldebardier hooked up a coaxial cable to a tuning antenna he took offline because it wasn't performing. And they didn't hit it. He got it hooked up, sent a message out. Rockstar, under attack by unknown jet aircraft. Rockstar, under attack. This was picked up as far away as Vietnam. Picked up by the 6th Fleet. Captain Tully immediately launched aircraft to come to our aid. Now, this is right in the heat of the air attack. They knew we were under attack by a foreign government. We couldn't identify them. All the jets were blackened or camouflaged. We didn't know who they were. We thought it was the Arabs. But no, it's the Israelis. McNamara called back the first wave of aircraft to come to our aid. Return to base. Do not help Liberty. Return to base. Soon after that, the America and the Saratoga launched again. Before they hit the horizon again, they were called back, this time by Johnson. Do not help Liberty. I will not embarrass my ally over a few dead sailors. President Lyndon Baines Johnson did that. So we were left out there alone to fend for ourselves. Now, I got to say, the pilots on those jet aircraft weren't happy. They heard what was going on. They could hear everything. our frequency was still open. And, during that attack, they jammed all of our distress frequencies. Every frequency we had, they jammed. How they knew our frequencies? Not unless they were told. They were told by our own government. They jammed our emergency frequencies, which is a war crime. It's against all rules of war. And so we were alone, and then the torpedo boats came along. But I know you got some questions. Go ahead and ask them, Zach.
So yeah, when did the napalm come into play?
That was during the air attack.
The air attack. Okay.
Yeah.
And before we get to that, can you just kind of explain to my listeners what napalm is? A lot of them don't know what that is.
Sure, Zach. It's a jellied gasoline. It's a brutal weapon, and they dropped that on the starboard side of the bridge, and you can't put it out. It's very difficult. I went up to the bridge trying to put it out. We didn't have any firefighting capability. They shut all our fire hoses up, all of them, above deck. So I had a CO2 canister. I went up there, and it did nothing, absolutely nothing. So I told the old man, I said, Captain, he was already hit at this time, too, in the leg. He had a bad wound in his leg. And he had a white shirt tied around it, to keep him from bleeding to death. And he says, okay, Turney, go do what you got to do. And I left. Before I left, the helmsman, Francis Brown, was at the helm. A wonderful man, a brave man. He received a Navy Cross for his heroic actions. We used to shoot pool and drink beer and everything. I knew the guy good. A good man. I really enjoyed it. He was my shipmate, my friend. We just locked eyes. We didn't say a word to each other. We just shook our heads. I went down the ladder, retrieved another can of CO2, bottle of CO2. I knew it wasn't going to do any good, but I had to do something. Went back up there. When I got up there, my good friend Francis Brown lay dead on the deck. He blood all over the place. So it was just helpless. We had nothing to fight back with but that.
So you're at this point. You're being attacked, and Tully, what was his title?
He was a captain of the USS Saratoga, and Captain Ingen was the captain of USS America. So,
okay, and he tried to send help, but he was called back, and the first time, and then he tried to send it again, and the president of the United States said, "Do not help our men because I'm not going to embarrass Israel."
Yeah, he did. Now, how did he know he was attacking us if we didn't?
Incredible, absolutely incredible. So you're there, and they've just been told that they can't come help you. What is it? What is the scene like? The wounded, the dead. Where are you taking them? What's happening with them?
Well, there's a triage center. Everywhere you could lay a body inside the skin of the ship, but the main triage center was in the mess decks. The whole mess decks was full of men, either on the tables or on the deck. That's how many wounded there were. And a lot of them were so severely wounded you couldn't even look at them. I was wounded, but I was walking wounded, and I was able to carry out my duties, thank God. But the scene was terrible. It was awful. Bleeding men, broken limbs, just anything you could think of that would disgust anybody is what Israel did to those men. And we originally had 9 killed on deck. And then the torpedo boats got there. We saw the Star of David We thought, oh my goodness, here we go. This is great. Our buddies are here to help us. I mean, that seemed only logical to us because on the airplanes, we didn't know who was attacking. We thought it was the Arabs. So we were happy to see the Israelis. Little did we know they came there to sink us. And that lasted another hour and a half of the torpedo boats. They fired 5 torpedoes at us. One of them hit the starboard side, instantly blowing to bits 25 of America's finest spies. Young men, my age. I was 20 at the time. Some of them were 17, 18, a little bit older, but they were all young men with life ahead of them. That's one of the reasons I've been doing this for so long, is those men didn't have a voice. And we've never had a voice. Our government has shut us up. Our senators, our congressmen, they don't want to hear it. They're a bunch of liars. They said they have had investigations. There never has been an investigation. So they're all on the side of Israel instead of their own fighting men. That's who controls our country. It's a Zionist state. But let me regress to the torpedo boats. Now, this went on for an hour and a half. They fired 5 torpedoes, as I said. One hit the starboard side. We instantly took a terrible list to the right-hand side. We thought the ship was going to roll over and sink, but it stopped. Just stopped by the hand of God. Jesus Christ is the only person to come and help us that day. He's been on my shoulder and my shipmate's shoulder ever since to get the truth out. But they circled the ship, firing rockets or cannons and machine guns at the ship over and over and over. The old man said, "Prepare to abandon ship." Thought we were going down. They shot all our life rafts up or burned them up with the napalm. We had only 3 life rafts left for a crew of 294, and they shot them all up except 3 they missed. Those 3 life rafts were put over the side. They were immediately shot out of the water. There was no survivors to be taken. They took one aboard their boat as a trophy of the kill. It's somewhere in Israel. I heard it was in Haifa. A trophy of the kill of murdering American sailors and Marines on the high seas. That's exactly what they did. We didn't sink by the grace of God. And that's why I'm here now.
So just to explain really clearly to my listeners about the size of the markings on your ship, the size of the flag, how big was the flag that was on the ship that day?
Good question. Initially, Zach, we had 2 5x8 brand new colors. Brand new. They were not soiled or anything. They're brand new. You can see them for miles. They shot 2 of those down. Shot 2 of them down. And Russell David, and I believe it was Joe Matters, put up the holiday colors, which is 7 feet by 13 feet. You can see it for miles and miles and miles, just like the 5x8. They knew exactly who we were anyway, Zach, because they had us on their war tables, American and friendly, before the attack. They said they had changed the watch and forgot we were there. So we were a ghost ship. And we weren't there anymore as an American ship. So their excuse was, well, we thought it was the El Quasir, an old horse transport, 150 feet long. Our ship was over 300 feet long. No comparison at all. They said, oh, we'll be mistaken for the El Quasir. All lies, just to cover up.
So, excuse me, the war table, and just to make sure that I understand this correctly, this is a literal table with a map of the Mediterranean Sea that your ship was originally on and was removed
by the IDF.
by the IDF. Okay, I was just making sure I understood that correctly.
So the they left us out there for 17 hours. Our government did. And when they knew we had a torpedo hit us and all this damage, they didn't come help us for 17 hours when they could have helped us right away. So the USS America, USS Davis, USS Massey get there. The USS Davis sent over the crew to help us with damage control and patching up the bulkheads who were balloons. They were ballooned out like a great big balloon on both sides. And so we shored those up to get us into wherever we're going. They transferred all the most seriously wounded off to the America. And there was a lot of them shot up bad. And the skeleton crew remained, which is me and a few others, say, I don't know, 50, if that. I'm not for sure. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. So just to go back to them, they purposefully took out your antennas, purposefully took out your guns, purposefully shot at the American flag. They hit the American flag, you say. They would have had to been aiming at it.
Absolutely. They took two of them out.
Wow.
They took two of them out. But Zach, once we got everybody airlifted over to the America or other ships, I forget the other ship they took it on. I know a couple of the survivors went there and then came back to the ship. But we were out to sea several days, headed to Malta for repairs. They could have sent us to Crete, which was a short distance. But no, they sent us to Malta about 1,000 miles away with a 40 by 40 foot hole in our ship, doing 4 knots to get there. So I guess they wanted us to sink on the way. Who knows? Captain from the JAG officer, Captain Boston, and Admiral Isaac Kidd boarded our ship about the second day we were out to sea, headed to Malta for repairs. He got us all in groups, small groups, 4 or 5. I happened to be in sick bay when they interrogated me and the other guys. And he took off his stars, Zach, threw them on the table. Said, listen, I'm just like you guys. I'm just like your dad. Tell me everything you saw and heard and what you felt. And we did. We told him exactly the way we felt. How come help never did come to us? You know, how come you left us out there for 17 hours with no help? They shoot our life rafts up, no help. And you're not there for us. We want to know why. You know, and we told him of the carnage, and he just looked at us, put his stars back on. He says, he actually got right in front of my face. He was beet red, Zach. He says, if you ever repeat a word to anybody of what you told me, I'll make sure you end up in prison or worse. You know what worse means? I said, yes, sir, I do. He slammed the door and left. And I was so pissed off I couldn't stand it, but so are the rest of the guys. Well, what are you going to do? You got a flag admiral telling you better shut up or you're going to put you in prison or kill you? So we all kept our mouths shut. We weren't supposed to talk to anybody, especially the press, not even our families, about it. So that went on for a long time.
So you and your shipmates get attacked. Many of your friends die, many of them wounded. And then you and your survivors that had to go through that get punished for having to go through it. Basically, they get told to shut up.
Yeah, our country abandoned us. The whole deal was that this whole setup came from Lyndon Johnson and Levy Eshkol and his minions, and the minions in the White House. There are very few. The Secretary of Defense, he was one of them, probably 4 or 5 more that knew they were betraying their country and going to kill all of us. They wanted us all dead. 294 American sailors and Marines at the bottom of the ocean to blame it on Egypt and get us into World War III. That was the whole plan. It was nothing but a land grab. This whole deal was a land grab to kill us, blame it on Egypt and the Arab countries, and we were going to war. That's what it was all about. There were SAC aircraft on the way to bomb Cairo even before our ship was attacked. Now think about that one, how coordinated this was. Us not sinking prevented World War III, and millions of lives were spared because of the grace of God saved us that day to tell the truth as he's done right now. For all the survivors. That's why we're here. That's why we're telling the truth.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so you're told to shut up. You're told to be quiet, or you're going to end up jailed or worse, which means killed. How long did you stay silent about it after that meeting?
I stayed silent for 18 years. I even forgot what day it happened, if you can imagine that. I was reading an article in the Rocky Mountain News. It's Denver. It's no longer a paper now. They got bought up by somebody else, but it was a different name. But the Rocky Mountain News, an article from Stan White. He was a Master Chief Petty Officer, spy. And he had an article in there about the Liberty, and I thought, oh my God, I can't believe this. If he can start speaking, I can. I'm going to start speaking because it's been a thorn in my heart and mind that took the scab off, and I started bleeding again. Mentally and physically, I was sick. What they'd done to us. So I didn't even tell my wife. We got married, I don't know, a year before this article come out. I never even told her I was in the military. When I told her this, she was not angry, just surprised. I didn't tell her. I says, well, I really didn't even think about it because it was gone from my memory until now. And it's been part of her memory, my family's memory from that day on. So it's just something I can't quit. I'm not going to quit. Getting the truth out to the American people that their own country sold us out to the Zionist state to sink us and blame it on a foreign government. The war that's going on in Gaza right now wouldn't be happening if our ship would have sunk. They would have got all the land they wanted right then. Instead, the genocided people, poor children in Gaza, men, women, children being genocided, starved to death, raped and murdered, all for land, for beachfront property. I'm sure you heard that from President Trump and his minions. They can go somewhere else to live. We'll help them. We'll give them some money and they go somewhere else to live. They don't want to live. That's their homeland. They've been there for thousands and thousands of years. They don't want to leave there. I don't blame them. but they're getting killed and murdered for it and genocided because they want to have a home. And I know it's a little bit different than the Liberty, but it's the same damn thing. It's the same thing. It's nothing but a land grab, and everybody with the brain can see it, or wants to see it, or has a brain that doesn't care. You got to have a heart and a brain to work together. And I cry a lot every day over those people. I see it so much on Instagram and other avenues and of what's going on, and it just breaks my heart that our country is bought and sold. We don't run our country. Israel does. Israel owns our country. They own the banks. They own our politicians. All our politicians are getting paid off by Israel. They're not even afraid to say it. 90% of them are getting money from Israel, except Marjorie Taylor Greene and, of course, Massey, and maybe a few others. But other than that, man, the rest of them are bought and paid for. Democrat and Republican, Senate and House, and in our White House, they're all bought and paid for it. Support Israel, no cost, no matter what they do with American sailors and Marines or anybody else. They could care less. All these wars we've been in all these years, going back to the Gulf War, and every war since, it's not been fought for protecting the United States. It's been protecting Israel. George W. Bush got in a war in Iraq over WMDs that Netanyahu was set in front of us. They got MDs. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. We got to take them out. You got to take them out. So we destroyed Iraq, millions of people killed. Afghanistan, all that stuff. All those men burned up, blown up, died for Israel, not for America. And please go ahead, Zach.
Oh, so there was supposedly an investigation by the United States into what happened to the USS Liberty. And can you talk a little bit about that investigation and what you believe about that investigation?
The investigation wrapped up in 7 days. Can you imagine that a foreign country attacking an American ship, killing 34, wounding 174 more, destroying our lives? And they said it was a mistaken identity in 7 days. Johnson ordered all of them, anybody involved with the Liberty, including John McCain, Admiral John McCain. He was part of the cover-up, no doubt. And they said, okay, yeah, it was a mistaken identity. Israel apologized and paid a few bucks. Case closed. That was the government side. They're still going by that. They're still going by that. The investigation was nothing but a sham. Wasn't an investigation. It was a whitewash. When you censor and silence Americans' free speech, our free speech was taken away from us. We had no free speech. Nothing. We had no rights. Because protecting Israel was more important than American citizens' lives being slaughtered by the Zionist state then and now.
So they do this sham investigation, and I assume that you and your shipmates had the same story of what went on that day, and when they were talked to, and they decided not to believe you. They decided not to publish that. Is that correct?
They believed it. Of course they believed it. They saw it. Captain Ward Boston, the JAG officer, later in life, he come out, they called it the Boston Declaration. He said that Admiral Kidd and him both knew it was a deliberate attack. It was that simple that you couldn't get away from it. It was a school kid could have figured it out, 3-year-old. But they were ordered never to say something. He said, well, I'm a military man. I have to go by my orders, which he did. So the Admiral Kidd and the rest of the people that bowed down to power, well, just like they did us, you know. So it was all hushed up until Captain Boston came out and says, yes, sham investigation. We knew it was a deliberate attack on by the Zionist state to murder us all, but we were forbidden to say anything. So, then the Congress picks it up. They said they've had 5 investigations. There's never been an investigation. Never. They're all liars. If you ever write or call your congressman or senator, be prepared to be lied to about the USS Liberty. In fact, be prepared to be lied to about anything they say.
Absolutely. And I've talked to him on the phone, so I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. So this is very disheartening, and it's going to be very disheartening to a lot of my listeners. And you all were kept quiet for so long, but now there are survivors that have banded together in your organization. How many survivors are there right now?
Well, that's a good question. I really can't honestly tell you because I don't think any of us really know. I would say not over 60, 70 at tops. I just had one of the survivors on my new podcast. I don't know if you heard about that.
Yes, absolutely.
His name is Mickey LeMay, and it's a wide open interview. It's a good interview. I'll be having more of those with survivors and notables and people that understand, just like yourself, trying to get the word out. That's why I do the podcast, because I can pick people that they don't have to be exactly like-minded, but they have to be smart enough to figure out the truth. And there's a lot of them. So, yeah, stay tuned to the Phil Turney podcast. It comes out every Friday. It'll drop on Friday, every Friday. So please just try to support us and get on board if you can. It sure help us because I got to keep this going. And
right.
That's why I'm doing it.
Right. And these survivors, and I'm sure you've talked to quite a few of them. One thing I wanted to ask you is about Captain Tully, who tried to send you help and was told twice that he could not do it. Did you ever get a chance to talk to him after the fact?
Boy, am I glad you brought that up. Thank you. I appreciate that, Zach. Yeah, I did. At one of our reunions, I think it was our 23rd or 24th reunion. He came to our reunion in his captain's uniform. It was wrinkled, and he wore it anyway. His pants and his coat were, you could tell it was wrinkled. And he was sitting down, and he said, I tried to come help you guys, but they wouldn't let me. And it ruined his life. For him coming to send help, they took his command away from him. They took his command away from him from the Saratoga. And he'd been bothered by it ever since. And he apologized to all of us. It wasn't his fault, but he knew he was the captain of that ship. And he was supposed to help his sailors, and they wouldn't let him do it. He started crying. And I'll never forget that. And the poor old cap, he had throat cancer, and he could barely talk good. Very, very rough voice. But he was still fighting in his heart and mind. But his body gave up. The cancer got him. And what a wonderful, beautiful man. And along with other notable people, Admiral Thomas Moore, former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, my friend, my good friend, he fought for us over and over again. He says, The USS Liberty was the easiest ship in the world to identify. It looked like a giant lobster. There's no way you could not identify it. He flew over the ocean thousands and thousands of hours identifying ships. He did it in World War II. He was a World War II hero. And he did it. Well, of course, he didn't do it when he was admiral, but he did it as long as he had to. And he was the only admiral in the United States Navy that was in command of the Pacific Fleet, and then later on the Atlantic Fleet, and then became the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And he supported us till his dying day. And he's all over the internet. You can look him up. You could look at a film I co-produced, Loss of Liberty, if you haven't seen that. Or there's been other great films. We did Sacrificing Liberty. It's on Rumble. If you haven't seen that, Zach, you people can go there. But yeah, listen, we're still here. And I'm 79. I'll be 79 in a few months. I'm going to keep on fighting until I can't fight anymore, till I just can't, till I'm gone, till I'm dead. Because they're not going to get by with murdering Americans on the high seas. And our government's not going to get by for covering up for them, like they've done. And it's just a terrible feeling to know that, for instance, Zach, you walk out your door in the morning or the afternoon, go take a walk or whatever, and you see somebody violently attack you and shoot you, and you know who they are. You tell the cops who they are, and they tell you, well, we can't help you because we know he wouldn't do it. You're lying. That's the way it felt. That's the only way I can explain it where others will understand it. So it hurts, and it'll drive you nuts. I've went from going almost crazy to completely sane by writing books, talking. I've talked to a lot of different places. Candace Owens and the Mises Institute, Jake Shields, and oh my goodness, just on and on and on. Clayton Morris, Redacted. I've been on so many of them, and I'm very grateful for that, including yours. Thank you, Zach. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're very welcome. And you said something very profound and something all of us should listen into, and that is that Jesus Christ saved you and your mates so that you could tell the truth to us today. Something I always like to ask people who profess their faith in Christ is how they came to that faith. So do you mind to share how you came to the Lord Jesus Christ?
I'd be glad to. I came to the Lord Jesus Christ in an old church in North Carolina on a dirt road. It was just a single room church. I went to church with my ex-wife. I was in uniform, my whites, because I didn't have anything really appropriate to wear to church, so I wore those. And I listened to the preacher and about what he was saying about Jesus Christ and the Lord. And all of a sudden, he asked people, to come forward if they want to. I mean, there wasn't a lot of people in the church. And I had to get up. I just had to. And that felt like I was walking on cotton, walking up to that pew and being saved. And I walked right back on cotton. And I never had that feeling ever, ever, ever. And at that moment, I knew Jesus Christ accepted me. I accepted him as my Lord and Savior. And I don't go to church. I'll tell you why I don't go to church, except for Pastor Chuck Baldwin and others like him. Liberty Fellowship in Kalispell, Wyoming. You can get him every Sunday on a lot of different outlets, YouTube and others. But he tells the truth about the Zionists, the Jews, and but the other ones, they're all preaching, you got Israel are the chosen people. You must obey them. You must love them. You must be subservient. But the Zionists, they spit on Christians. The Jews spit on Christians. You see it all the time. It's happening right now. In Jerusalem, they spit on them. Visitors go there. If you're a Christian, you get spit on or smacked. So that's what they think of Christians. They just destroyed a Christian church in Gaza. One of the holiest sites there, one of the oldest Christian sites. It's gone. So that's what they think of Christians. But this Christian is telling you, Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior, and I'm here with the tip of the spear to come after you with words and deeds and facts.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, it's been great to talk to you. I just want to ask you the best place that my listeners can support you, can find your work, and how they can support your organization for the USS Liberty.
Yeah, thank you. Zach, like I said, go to Phil Turney podcast. You can donate there. I don't even know exactly how it was set up, but I'm sure it's there somewhere. Like I said, I'm not a tech guy. I have to have other people to do it. But also, libertyveterans.org. That's the survivors are still left, and go to that. You can buy trinkets and shirts and stuff like that. But that's just supporting us and supporting me and my podcast. And thanks for bringing that up. I really appreciate it. To your audience, God bless you all. God loves you. I love you. Love you. Love thy neighbor, except the ones that try to kill you.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Zach. Hopefully we'll do it again. I might have you on my podcast if you're up to it.
Oh, I would love to come on your podcast. Absolutely.
Okay, brother. Take care.
It's a deal. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.